Hi guys, my name is Danny, and I'm a campaign finance reform advocate out of Miami, Florida. On your screen right now is a snapshot of my database that I have built by gathering campaign finance reports from mostly Miami-Dade County, City of Miami, the state of Florida, and a little bit from the Federal Election Commission. I mostly focus on tracking county and municipal candidates, though I am starting to move into state level candidates because, well, it's Florida, we're a mess. Basically, this video is going to give a brief introduction of how our political campaigns are financed, particularly in Miami-Dade and City of Miami, though with a little bit on the state of Florida and a smidge on the Federal Election Commission. As you can see, I've been compiling a lot of info across multiple years, across multiple databases. It's a never-ending process, and hopefully this will answer some of the basic questions I receive when I post up this info online. One of the first questions I'd get after posting a graphic like the one I had on the screen a few minutes ago is, what does direct and indirect mean? Direct, straightforward, the candidate's campaign itself. Any advertisements will list their name and office they're running for. The good thing about direct, there are maximum contribution limits. There are plenty of loopholes to get around, and the political parties are not held to donation limits, but they are there. There's at least an effort being made. Not a great effort, but an effort. Now, indirect, as you saw from that graphic, I will put it back up on screen right now for a minute. As you can see, direct is just a fraction of the indirect money. Most of the money comes in indirect. Now, as that graphic showed, indirect is where most of the money in our political system comes in through. It's given to the PACs, it's given to the political parties, the ECOs, the super PACs on the federal level. And the big problem with that is, overall, there's no maximum contribution limit. That is the big problem. So if somebody wants to give $1 million to a candidate, they can easily do it through a political party or political committees. And now when I'm talking about this as well, it's a lot harder to trace on the indirect side because the political parties and the political committees can bounce this money around. So as I see, I'm giving the example. Somebody gives $1 million to a party. They can distribute that through a whole bunch of political committees before it finally gets to a candidate. The political committees can move the money around until they finally give to the political party. It makes it so much harder to trace who is giving, how much they're giving, because once it gets into that system, it gets everywhere. Now, I have it marked in red. I don't encounter this much with local politicians, but there's also the 501c4s. That's an IRS designation for a company. Basically, they do not have to legally disclose who their donors are. So you'll just see that company, that 501c4, making a donation, but you will not know the source of that money. It makes it so much harder to know who's funding, these candidates, these issues that these 501c4s are supporting. And in the local level, to give you an idea of the type of person who would have a 501c4. As of right now, the only candidate or elected I've had to deal with that lists one on their official paperwork has been City of Miami Mayor Francis Suarez, who is under investigation for quite a few things. So I'm not going to talk too much more about 501c4s because of how rare I run into them, but they're out there, they're dangerous, be afraid of them. As I mentioned earlier, the indirect contributions are the big problem. However, there are a lot of loopholes that can be exploited in the direct contributions that allow someone to give more than the maximum contribution, but it's all technically legal. Right now, what we have on screen is the state of Florida limits on contributions. Right here it says, I mostly focus on municipal and county candidates, so their maximum is supposed to be $1,000. The primary and the general count as two separate, so you can give a maximum of $1,000 in the primary and a maximum of $1,000 in a general. The problem is they define, quote, a person is an individual or corporation, association, firm, partnership, joint venture, joint stock company, club, organization, estate, trust, business trust, syndicate, or other combination of individuals having collective capacity. So essentially, if you legitimately have a reason to have, let's say, multiple LLCs, multiple companies, if you have a good reason to have some type of trust or an estate, each one of those counts as a quote-unquote person, meaning each one of them can give up to $1,000, the maximum contribution. Now, what does that translate to? On your screen right now is contributions from Transportation America, which is a county and city transportation contractor. They handle the paratransit services. They run some lines for the Miami-Dade transit system, some bus lines for them. They also run a lot of the municipal trolleys you see around Miami-Dade County. They also do Medicare and Medicaid HMO transportation services. So a lot of their money comes from government contracts. As you can see on screen, Carlos Jimenez, former mayor of Miami-Dade, they gave from multiple companies they own the maximum donation, meaning in his 2016 mayoral run, they gave him $28,000 directly, all legal. And as I slowly go down this, you can see he may have been the person who benefited the most from this, but as you go down, you can see it's the whole commission going back years. These are all the older commissioners that were there. Now we're starting to get into current commissioners, and you can see they're doing the same thing. Maybe not to the extent of 28,000, but it's 10,000 an election cycle. 5,000 for some of the newer ones. Oh, we're getting into the city commissioners too. As you can see, multiple elections, City of Miami. There they go. Oh, Ken Russell, Francis Suarez. All of these are the elected officials that decided their contracts for the city and for the state. And also there's some friends of in here too. But that's how they get around it. If you legitimately have a reason to have multiple businesses, you can easily give 5, 10, 15, 20,000 or more directly to a candidate, all perfectly legal. Let's take a look at the different levels of elections and levels of databases that you need to understand and look at to get an idea of how our political system is financed. First and foremost, the big ones. Federal Election Commission. That's U.S. President, U.S. Congress. That's where you find the super PACs and the national political parties. I don't deal a lot with that directly, but the FEC.gov website is absolutely the best to use. It is very easy to search. It is very easy to download the data. They actually give me more data than I need for my purposes, but I'm not going to complain. The others are very sparse with some of their data, so that's good to have. Now, the next level is the state level. In particular, I deal with the Florida Division of Elections, which is part of the Florida Department of State. That site handles the governor, the state house, the state senate, certain cabinet positions, state attorneys, certain judges, various state level positions, also political committees that are listed with the state, and also the state level political parties and the party committees. Again, remember, those are the ones that have the unlimited contributions. Florida Division of Elections, their website is pretty good. It has some limits. It's not as good as the FEC website, but from here I can search all the different committees. I can search the different races, going back, any specials. Like if I wanted to look up the most recent State House district that was in Miami-Dade, I can look and I can see really fast all the contributions. As you can see, this race had a lot of the unlimited contributions from the political parties involved, from the Republican Party to the Republican candidate, and a whole lot of PAC activity, which again makes the funding for this particular candidate very, very hard to trace down. What we can see isn't good, but what we don't know is probably even worse. Also on that, they have a decent searchable website. It has some, not as good as FEC, but I can look for everything for a certain candidate as opposed to going to each individual race. I can look up each committee. I can look up by contributor. There's a lot of things you can do to get those records on the state website. Now, the next level is the county level. Depending on how each county is set up, you may have a mayor, you have some type of commission or council, you generally have school board, sheriff, the comptroller, county judges, and of course, the county level political committees and the county level political parties. Now, there isn't a single website to go to, obviously. There's multiple counties in the state of Florida and across the country. But for me, I'd have to go to the Miami-Dade, which has their own little database. The search feature isn't great. It has a lot of issues, but it's here and it's easy to download the info. This is right now, we're looking at the 2024 races. These are everybody that have filed so far. I can pull up any records going on. Let's say I want to, pull up county mayor. If I want to go up to Cava, I can easily look at all her contributions and expenses and download it from here. If I want to go view the political committees, I can go ahead, do the drop down, and see every committee. The active ones are generally listed first, but then I can go back about a little over a decade, give or take here. It only goes back roughly a decade, not too far, but better than a lot of places. Now, the municipal level, it's usually a lot quieter, and I'm going to let you know about some issues with that later. But municipal level, that's usually your city commission, city council, town commission, your mayor, and various other elected officials within the city, though generally a lot of city positions are appointed rather than elected. Again, also, that's where you find the political committees that are listed with the city, and to a lesser extent, I don't really deal with this too much, are municipal political parties. Sometimes you'll see like Sample City Republicans might be listed as a political party, but it's generally not there often. I live in the city of Miami. Luckily, since 2017, the city of Miami has a database very similar, using the same product as Miami-Dade County and Broward County uses as well. So again, it's very easy. I want to pull up, let's say, all of Covo's, from the most recent race. I can quickly view and download everything I need. The same thing with the political committees that are listed with the city of Miami. I can go and quickly view everything. Again, city of Miami only goes back in this format to 2017. Prior to that, they used PDFs, which I don't currently have any of the PDF records in my database because I have to convert them over, which is something I just haven't had the time or energy to do yet. For City of Miami, that's not so bad. Going back to at least 2017, I have a few elections. I have a decent amount of data I can look at and find trends. However, this is how some cities, some municipalities within the county still do PDF versions of their campaign treasurer reports. For cities like Hialeah, where just skimming them, I can see some of the contributors that I'm tracking showing up there it's very upsetting, because it makes it so much harder to be transparent. Yes, technically they have the reports here, but if I click on it, you know, some of them are handwritten, some of them, you know, aren't the best quality to bring over. And that's a problem that you may run into if you're looking into the campaign reports from smaller municipalities, though some bigger ones do still use the PDFs. It's just something to keep in mind, that it's not going to be a nice, easy to use database. It's not even going to be in one spot. If I want to see everybody, all the contributions for, let's say, Monica Perez, I don't have a file I can click on it. I have to go through each of these and look at them. Now, I know, especially what I just talked about, makes it seem kind of bleak between the indirect contributions and all the loopholes that special interests are able to use with direct contributions. So it can seem overwhelming, and you might be wondering, well, how can I help a candidate I like, but not risk getting caught up in this system, or to help a candidate fight back against another candidate who is benefiting from all these loopholes and dirty tricks that are being used? Well, first and foremost, word of mouth. Talk them up. Talk to your neighbors. Talk to your friends. You'd be shocked. Some of them may not even know there's an election coming. It's less likely in 2024, but it happened so many times with the municipal elections in 2023. You know, using social media. Make your own posts explaining why you support a candidate. Like, share, comment, and help boost the candidate's social media. Try to get the word of mouth out there. The next thing is simply volunteer or do an in-kind donation to the campaign. The in-kind donations are subject to contribution limits, but let's say you own a printing shop, you can provide printed material. If you own a venue, you can let them use that venue for a meeting or for some type of campaign event. If you own a restaurant, you can provide food. Various ways. And obviously volunteers, a lot of the stuff you see, doing the door-to-door, doing the phone calls, various ways to help that you have a lot more control of. You know, if they have you telling you to help support another candidate, you can just say, no, I only want to support you. Right there. No worries about how your money is going to be spent. Now, if you're not able to chat up your neighbors or do in-kind or volunteer, or you would prefer to give money, I would suggest only giving directly to the candidate's campaign. Don't give to the PACs. Don't give to the political parties. Certainly don't give to 501c4s. Those things need to be discouraged at all costs. But give directly to the candidate. I would suggest small donations over time. Campaigns can always use those small recurring donations. It can be super helpful. There's thousands of small little things that can pop up that those can help with. And also, you can always ask for a refund. Do not be afraid. Do not be ashamed. If you do not like how your money is being spent, if you do not like how a candidate is behaving, you can always say, I want my money back. Don't be afraid. Don't be ashamed. It's your money. You should have control over it. And if they don't respect that, let everybody know, because that's not a candidate people should be supporting. Hopefully this video answered some basic questions. I'm going to go more in depth in other videos, but these are some of the questions I frequently get asked. So hopefully this gives you a basic understanding of how the system works the direct, the indirect, and the different levels, and where to find the campaign finance reports so you can look them up yourselves. Trust me, just to do City of Miami, I'm having to look up like 4 databases, so it's completely understandable if you're not able to keep up with everything yourself. I'm trying to help and have that information available. I try to post stuff on my Ko-fi, as well as on Twitter, or X, as well as Instagram, Nextdoor, and Facebook. I'm often as Danny R. Miami, or Miami Seda. Miami SEDA are my handles. I also have this Ko-fi. Like I said, I try to keep a bunch of my info on here so it's easy to find, but it's also a way you can support me. I will happily compile everything and make it available because, like I said, it's ridiculous just for a city government. We have 6 elected officials, and I'm having to look at 4 different databases to keep track of all their political contributions. It's a lot, and I'm trying to do it because the average person, understandably, just does not have the time or energy to spend on it. So thank you so much for listening to this video. Again, I hope I answered some of the basic questions. Please send me questions that you have for more in depth or that you'd like more information on. I'm hopefully planning on making a lot more videos to educate the public because our elected officials are really exploiting this system, and it's just so hard for us to find out everything they're doing, and they're going to work hard to keep it that way. So thank you so much for your time, and hopefully I'll see you soon with some more information.